Good afternoon, Quilt Roadies. How are you doing? Thank you for stopping by. I have stuff to share. I've been keeping busy. How about you? Trying to keep the old spirit wild and laughing and all the fun things. Just keep on stitching. That's what I say. So today is a mixed bag. It's a little bit of rain, a little bit of clouds, a little bit of blue sky, a little bit of everything. It's a smorgasbord of the Portland, Oregon area's weather. And we love it here. We absolutely love it here. Everything is growing, out on the street trees in the suburb or town that I live in, because I don't actually live in Portland proper. I live in a city outside of Portland. And the street trees, it's an older area. The street trees are in the wintertime are just uglier than sin. They're covered in moss. They break easy. It just makes you want to cut them down, but there's this whole process. I'm babbling here. There's this whole process to get rid of your street tree. You have to ask for permission, and then you only can choose from a list of 4 trees, and it's on your dime to plant it back. And so every year I think, I'm going to cut those trees down. They're just so ugly. And then come spring, they are glorious, absolutely glorious. They're a type of ornamental pear tree. And the flowers are just gorgeous. And so then you don't see all the ugly. Yeah. Isn't that the way a lot of things are? Surface beauty. So it is a nice spring day. I'll take it. I'll take it. Everything is starting to bloom. And then this morning we had arranged to have our pond. We have a stream and a pond in the back of our house, and our backyard is somewhat like a animal kingdom. Other night I'm like having a hard time to sleep because there's some fox that's screaming out back there, and sometimes we'll just get deer hopping through our yard and groups of coyotes. The ducks have taken up residence, and I was sure that they were not going to like that we cleaned the pond and the stream, just get all the muck and everything out of it. And it looks glorious. I have to say, it just looks glorious, and they are loving it. I didn't think they'd go for it, but they are hanging out there having a grand old time. And it's really fun to watch the wildlife in our back. Because when a bird of prey comes, all of a sudden, all the birds disappear, all the little birds disappear. And the ducks, although they are as big as the bird of prey, they run to the water because that's their safety place. And so they run to the pond and they sit there, although they're bigger than the hawk that comes around. It's just kind of, I don't know, connecting with nature just feels good. Just feels good. And I bought some more plants. I bought some flowers to put in. It might be just a tad early, but that's the way it goes around here. You just can't stop yourself. Everything starts arriving at all the garden centers, and you just want to dig in the dirt. Yeah, so I did. I bought some plants. I spent one day earlier in the week just cleaning back there because I didn't want the pond guys to do all this cleaning and debris and muck. What a job. What a job. For me to just have a windstorm come through and then fill everything up. So I went out and did some trimming and weeding and planting some of the things that I had bought last week, because that's what goes on now. There's more money being spent on plants than fabric. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. So how have you been? I know some of you have had a rough way to go, and I appreciate you sharing in the comments. I think we all need a place to be able to lay our heads sometimes, and I'm glad that some of you think that this will be a place where you can safely lay your head and your soul. Thank you for trusting me. I do have to say, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just am so blessed to have all of you in this community. And for those of you that have been on this long journey with me, I know you have my back, because when I couldn't find my Hexie template, several of you in the comments told me where it was. I mean, I was like, really? Didn't I look there? Because I literally torn apart the Bee Hive looking for it. And all of you said, no, it's in the Yazzie bag. It's in the Yazzie bag where your Hexie bag. And I could beat red right now. I could be beat red right now. And in fact, there it was. I love this thing because I can see through it. So I can kind of center it over a motif and be able to get that motif in the center and cut it for the 1-inch hexagons that I like. So for all of you that told me where to look, you are my people. Thank you. Thank you. I was able to finish my postcard, and if you're new here, I am part of the staff, the teaching staff at the Sisters Outdoor Quilters Affair. The Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show is the second Saturday in July, and the whole week before is classes that are taught by instructors, quilters from all over the world. It's the most amazing event in this lovely, lovely town. And in the past, I have taught a variety of different things: wool stitching, watercolor, miniature quilts, just a variety of things. But in the last few years, I have settled into this absolutely wonderful spot because I get to just socialize and encourage and help quilters. And that is Sit and Stitch. So for 2 days, the week before the quilt show, which is the second Saturday in July, I think it's Thursday and Friday, I am supporting any quilter who signs up for Sit and Stitch. We take over the computer library classroom, and people set up their sewing machines, or they do handwork, whatever they, old UFOs or new projects with classes they've taken earlier in the week. And they set up and sew, and then we just get to share and ooh and ah over what everybody's doing. And it's like lunchtime all day in high school, where everybody likes everybody else, and you move from table to table and you see what everyone is working on, and you cheer and you give suggestions when asked. It's just a lovely time. So I can't wait to see some of you there. But what I am telling you, why I'm telling you this, is because they ask if the instructors for the Quilters Affair will make a postcard, which I showed you last week, not last week, but the last episode, the postcards that I have gotten. And they framed them and put them up for auction as a fundraiser for arts and music in the schools. And so I had to think about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to make for my postcard. And I have to send it in before May, so they have time to frame it. I've been on this kick, as you know, with French General Fabrics. I've always loved French General Fabrics, but it's kind of like with all quilting fabrics, you get this wave of what you feel like right now. Like, oh, I just feel like some Civil War fabrics or some early Americana, or I just want some modern, ooh, Tula Pink, oh, Valerie Wells. I just need some, well, right now for me, it is French General. In deep. And Lori, who lives in Sisters, textilist, she has a floss tube. She also is a big French General fan. So I thought, the whole thing about designing a postcard is to make it what you're interested in, to make it beautiful enough to frame, to think about what would be fun to make, because okay, here's the thing. I believe that no bad juju should go into what you're making. And what I mean by that is if I'm making a quilt for someone or a stitching wall hanging or whatever I'm stitching, baby quilt, whatever, if I am irritated or angry about something or it's not working out, I walk away for a while because I don't want any bad juju in my gifts. And so I feel the same way about my postcard. What am I going to do that will make it beautiful? And I had decided, if you saw on Instagram, that I was going to do a hexie postcard with mostly French General fabrics. And so I sewed the appropriate amount of hexies, and then the scary part comes in cutting it into a rectangle. So I'm going to cut some of those hexies off. Then I layer it with what I think is called Timtex and some backing fabric, and then you kind of satin stitch around the whole edge because that kind of gets framed out by their matting. But here is my postcard that will be auctioned off. I love it. I just love how it turned out. And it's a combination of French General and some red fabric that I had in my stash. But I hope you love it. I love it. So I have to get that mailed off so they have time to frame it. While I was hunting around, because when you hunt for something specific like this, you are literally tearing apart your sewing space, trying to catalog in your mind where could you possibly put something, and then you discover a lot of other things. And I discovered this kit. It was sitting right here. I mean, it wasn't like it went anywhere, but I hadn't put it in the queue to start working on it. And it was just a really sweet gift from Lynn. A happy birthday gift. Oh, but the neat thing about this is that Michelle May, who I have been a fan and follower of for a very long time, she is just an extremely beautiful soul and a fabulous designer. If you follow her on Instagram, she is now into fine paper cutting. I mean, I guess when someone has a designer brain, your brain's not limited by genre. It's like you could do anything. Oh, I just love looking at her paper cutting. But anyway, this was one of her designs through her Raspberry Rabbit Folk Art Fusion by Michelle May, and it was the Beekeeper pincushion and scissor holder. And so it came as a full kit. It has all the gewgaws, and I am going to be breaking that out and creating, start stitching on that. And I have, you know, that I have my Fabric Stalkers quilt retreat coming up in May. And so I may get this all prepped so that I can be stitching on it there. I shared with you last time that when I was going to go to Woolly Wednesdays at Pioneer Quilts, that I was going to be working on this all through the night. It's a pre-printed, embroidered in wool pattern by Bonnie Sullivan. Makes for a real satisfying, simple, you know, I would say satisfying, simple, get it done fast, except for the fact that when you're at Woolly Wednesday, there's so much fun going on, so many things to oogle over on what other people are working on, and things to shop for in the shop, and conversations about all manner of wonderful topics, including where's the best place to get peanut butter cookies or whatever we have decided to talk to. But anyway, I had already had this prepped, and I did start stitching on it. So I'm just stitching the wool down. Now, I've shared on, you can go back on my videos and find the topic. I'm sorry I never put them in their pages or chapters, but I've done many tutorials on how I prepare my wool, and I fuse everything down initially because I travel so much that I never want to lose a leaf in an airport waiting area. So these are all fused down, and I used to use soft fuse, but there is another fusible out there now. It starts with an N. Can't remember it. If somebody remembers it, put it in the comments for everyone else to see. And this has been fused for like 3 or 4 years at least, and I haven't lost anything off of it. With that said, if I see a piece start to lift, that's the piece I'll tack down first. Because, you know, when you tack down like this little yellow circle, it's going to tack down the 3 layers under it. Yeah, so there you go. I was working on that this week. In this beautiful little bag. I just love this. Michelle Celeste Stitches. Okay. Oh, I wanted to put this with there. We got hooked on the next season, season 3 of it went out of my brain just like that. It's season 3. The guy is big and muscular, and he's like a spy. Can't remember it. On the spot, and can't remember it. Nope, can't remember it. I don't want to stretch my brain too much. It might hurt. I have been working on tacking down the binding on my French General quilt. It's coming along. All I can say is it's coming along. But what I did do was, I showed you this before. This was the, National Parks quilt that I had gotten back, and it was quilted. And I thought, you've got so much handwork. There's at least 6 or 8 things hanging on here that need the binding tacked down. This quilt, I love this quilt, but because it has the National Park panels. This quilt is going to be in Penny in the van. It's going to be a quilt that's going to be a camping quilt. Beautiful camping quilt. And so I said, why am I going to spend a whole lot of, I'm going to whine in here, a whole lot of time tacking down this binding. It'll be 2 or 3 camping seasons from now before we get to use it. So I found the fabric in my pile over there, the same backing fabric, which is this nice flannel that has like a wood grain to it. And I cut binding, 2.5-inch binding on the diagonal. And I machine sewed it down. I machine sewed it down. And it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's fine. I was so pleased with myself. Now, with that said, I would not be machine sewing down the French General quilt because I just wouldn't. But this is like a baby quilt or a toddler quilt or a nappy quilt. It doesn't need professional binding tacking. That's a genre of binding putting down. Yeah. So I machine sewed it down. I cut it the same 2.5-inch. The only difference is that I sewed it to the back first. You know, where normally when I'm tacking binding down by hand, you sew it to the front, you fold it over, you tack it down. In this case, I did the same 2.5-inch binding, folded it in half, but I sewed it on the back first. And then I flipped it over the front. I used my walking foot because you got a lot of layers there. And I sewed down the edge. And I'm telling you, because I have the same fabric on the front and back, you can't even tell. And it's perfect. And that's all I got to say about that. For anybody who wants to judge me for machine sewing a binding down, I did it. The next thing, let's see. Oh, I ordered, remember I told you about those little motifs that Kathy Schmitz had created and that you could make anything out of. You could make them in the center of a pincushion. You could make little scissor fob things out of them. And I told you I was going to order from Spoon, rather than tracing each pattern out of the book, I was going to order the panel already pre-printed from Spoon Flower. It came. This is so great. So here it is. All of the motifs that were in that book that you would trace onto fabric in order to embroider them. Look at the Bee Hive up there. Oop. Let's see. It's already pre-printed on this really nice cotton. And so all I have to do, and they're far enough spaced apart that I can cut them apart after I embroider them. So it probably would make sense just to maybe cut 3 of them apart at one time, whatever would fit in your hoop or how you like to stitch. I would, when I'm doing this, I would actually fuse SF101 on the back just to kind of give it more stability, and I do a lot of thread carrying, and so that won't show up so much. But I was really excited when this came because, I mean, it took one whole step. It took one whole step out of the creative part. So now I don't have to figure out, tracing and all of that stuff. Yeah. So that came, and I was very excited about that. Well, back to when I was looking for this. Actually, you shouldn't feel so bad about losing something, because when you have to spend a concerted amount of time looking for something, you might find something that you forgot about or that you thought was long gone, and then you're off and running again. It was such a lovely news. It was lovely news that one of my high school girlfriends, my best friend in high school, through a series of unfortunate events, she had to move our senior year, and so we didn't get to graduate together. But we were stuck like glue from the time we were freshmen. And her stepdaughter was in my wedding. It's a long history. Let me just say, it's a long history. And so she's not specifically a crafter. She doesn't get to spend a lot of time crafting. She's still working. And she likes to do some things, but she just doesn't have a lot of time to do it. And for the first time, she is living in a house. She has her own home. She used to live in the city because she worked in the city. And so apartment living close, not far from where she worked, that was what worked. But now, she is now in a standalone home, her first home. And it's to celebrate. It's just to celebrate, because finally, as she gets closer and closer to maybe retiring, doesn't want to be in the thick of it, wants to have a garden and a dog and all the things, not always being on the freeway to get to work. And I thought, I have to make a wall hanging to celebrate that. And when I was looking for the template, I found the pack of vintage photographs that were printed onto fabric that I had bought years ago with her in mind. I know. See, that's why I cannot say enough that you should not be berating yourself for your stash. You do not know when you're going to need it. You do not know if you're going to need it. But when you do, you'll have it. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So when I found this, I was like stunned. And I said, oh my gosh, I bought this thinking of her. And I'm thinking I bought this. Does it say what year I got this? No. But these were printed from 2006 to 2017. So a while ago. I would say over 10 years ago. Easily over 10 years ago I bought it. For a someday gonna make. And so now that she is living in a home, dreaming of her first puppy, her husband's planting a garden, it seemed the perfect time. So I took them out, and let me preface this. I know I say that a lot because my stories are long and convoluted, and if you're new here, that's the way it goes. We grew up in participating in and being excited about rodeo. The town we grew up in was one of what was called the top 10 rodeo competitions in the nation. So it was a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal. And G grew up in that same area, so his Boy Scout troop would be in the stands selling snacks and stuff. And the first time I was in the rodeo parade, I know, My life really has been a Forrest Gump kind of life. So I had the opportunity when I was a teenager. My dad had a friend who had a ranch and horses, and he said, "Why doesn't your daughter come and ride one of the horses in the rodeo parade?" And then the rodeo parade goes into the rodeo grounds and starts off the rodeo. Mind you, I'd never ridden a horse. And I rode a horse all the way from outside town into town, country roads. And then I rode in the arena. It was like a little girl's dream come true. It was a dream come true. So we were all big about the rodeo back then. And one of G's friends, later in life, who's an artist, used to do the posters and stuff for the rodeo. So we have a lot of those rodeo posters. Not a lot, but we have some framed. So this 4x4x6 quilt block wall hanging was these old sepia photographs printed of old cowgirls. Isn't that cool? Now, I don't know if these are still done. It was by American Quilt Blocks and the oldamericaantiques.com. I looked and I couldn't find them, so I don't know if that is still available. But they had this, they have all kinds of, at that time they had all kinds of different patterns, and then a very just kind of little folder on putting the wall hanging together. And so I went in my stash, pulled out some fabrics, and here it is. Isn't that the sweetest? And then if you look closely, it's like old photographs of these old cowgirls. I just think that's the sweetest thing. So now I have to quilt it, bind it, and send it off. Oh, look at this. They have the dates from these photographs. 1915, 1920. Wow. I didn't see the dates when I was putting this together. How cool is that? Oh man, so I was really, really excited to have that. And then I just, as soon as I saw it, I couldn't stop myself. I had to immediately put it together. Immediately. It was like, yeah. Today, or not today, but this week in the mail from Fat Quarter Shop. Don't you love getting a box from Fat Quarter Shop? God, this is like so exciting to me. I am going to, you know what, I've said it before, I'm going to retreat in May. Yeah, I'm going to retreat. And I plan on doing a lot of machine sewing. Normally, I do more hand stitching, but I'm going to do a lot of machine sewing this time. And I take my little Janome gem. Well, I got this French General fabric. Oh, and I'm going to take, you know, I'm taking the Jolly Bar books, so I'm going to actually, I think I probably will try to cut a quilt up ahead of time and get it ready. But look at this. So I got yardage of this dark, it's like a navy, dark navy blue. And then here's the printed. And then I got a Jolly Bar of Antoinette collection. Isn't that beautiful? I shouldn't cover her face. So beautiful. And then the Ruinaires Trois. 2 packs of those 5-inch squares. So I have 84 5-inch squares to work with. This is the year of French General for me. I know that they have these at the Fat Quarter Shop if you're interested, and I cannot stress enough. I cannot stress enough how fun the Jolly Bar books are, because truly, I was just looking if I had one here. Truly, the do I have one here? Oh, excuse me, I'm just futzing around here. No, I have it over there. Okay, we'll settle down. Yeah. The Jolly Bar books are a great way to put a quilt together that is not only beautiful, but it doesn't take a year. And it uses a lot of the pre-cuts, the 5-inch, the layer cakes, the half a layer cake. And so you're kind of on a mission that happens. So if you've never tried a Jolly Bar quilt, oh, please go on to Fat Quarter and order those books. They are like a Bible to me. Okay, so I think I've covered it. I got asked out on a date this evening. I'm very excited about that. Yep. So we're going out on a date, and yeah, life is good. Life is good. Keeping my fingers crossed for peace and understanding and love. That's what I want. I know that's what you want. Okay, you guys all take care, and I love you guys.